Well, the People's Inquiry starts with a series of 7 meetings in public where the panel hear evidence from experts, from patients, from a whole variety of people who have something to say about the future of the NHS in London. And the final one takes place in Lewisham on the 6th of December. After that, then we're going to pull all the evidence together and prepare a report which should be ready by probably early February. And then that will be in the public domain. And we hope to use that report to generate further conversations with key decision makers.
So how important would you say these meetings that you hold?
I think they're very important. The future of the NHS in London is such a big issue. It's a world city. It's got a huge population, and it's a very mixed population as well. It's got some of the wealthiest people in the world and some of the poorest people, not in the world but in the developed world. So crafting and shaping an NHS that it suits their needs is not an easy task. So I think that there's a big issue there. What we've had in the last, since this current government came to power, is an attempt to fundamentally shift the way that the NHS operates and to turn it into a market. And all the evidence seems to be, and it's certainly what we were hearing on Friday, is that that just doesn't work in a big complex city like London. If it works anywhere, it certainly doesn't work in a place like London.
So what is your opinion on how the NHS is changing?
I think the NHS is, I think most people agree, a wonderful institution. It's an expression of the way that people care for each other in this society, and it is actually one of the very few things about the UK that is the envy of the world. And international researchers point to it as one of the top 1, 2 or 3 health services in terms of the access to care, the quality of care and the total cost. So it's a real gift to the world, and so I take that as my starting point. What this government did when it came to power in 2010 was reveal plans that they'd previously kept hidden to do a wholesale top-down reorganisation of the NHS. In fact, in the campaign, they'd said that that's precisely the opposite of what they'd do. So, a great deal of legislative work went into creation of the 2012 Health and Social Care Act, which essentially tries to change the NHS from a public service to a marketplace, albeit at the moment where the funding still comes from the public purse. And that creates all sorts of consequences that I can go into if you'd like me to.
So what are the consequences?
Well, one of the consequences are that we spend much, much more, a much bigger proportion of the NHS budget on sending invoices between one part of the NHS and the other. In other words, building up transaction costs for commissioning and for providing services that previously cost us a lot less to administer when it was all within the same organisation. There was an attempt by this government to reduce the number of managers and to build the number of clinicians, but in fact that hasn't happened. Managers were removed from posts, that's quite true, but then they were re-employed elsewhere, often taking quite big redundancy payments from their first post and then being re-employed in other parts of the NHS. So it hasn't reduced the cost of management, it's actually increased it because of the need to undertake these complicated transactional processes.